Hi, everybody. How are you? I'm so excited today. Welcome to the Soul Truth Conversation Show. We're on episode 11. So today I'm really excited to introduce our guest for today. And this is Sabrina. And she's a soul embodiment coach. She activates female entrepreneurs to embody their soul's purest expression and invites them into their deepest desires with ease. She's an expert in emotional intelligence, soul channeling, reclaiming your divine feminine, and being your unapologetic sexy self. She's a wife and a mother as well, and enjoys living her life and running her business based on her pleasure and her unique energy. I love that so much. Welcome, Sabrina, to the show, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yay. So I would love for you just to take a couple of minutes to just say a little bit more about yourself and maybe more about, your journey, where you've come from, where you are today. Like, how did you get to where you are today? And I would love to dig in deeper about the real truth about soul embodiment and how that's helped you on your story, just that we can give people, I love to know the beautiful journeys. We know what you do now. We know what you are. It's like, yeah, has that always been there? How did soul embodiment, work for you on your life? I'm sure the listeners can't wait to hear from you.
Awesome. Yeah. So I started my journey as a coach, as a mindset coach. I was full-time teaching as well at the time. And that was great for a bit until I felt like I was teaching things that I was good at, but I had no passion for. And I could feel that something was pulling me. And this was about the time when the pandemic was hitting and everything was shutting down. And I had already planned on quitting my job at the end of that year. So it was divine timing that all lined up. And I was pregnant with my first child, my child, and she's one now. And so it was just crazy. And I started feeling like I wanted to pull away from other people telling me what to do and more going within. So I started the book, The Universe Has Your Back by Gabby Bernstein, which was an amazing find and just something that I just really felt called to dive into. I kind of took it like a course and practice the Kundalini meditations. And it was so eye-opening what I was discovering about myself. And I was actually able to tap into meditation on a deeper level, that I could actually access this inner voice within me. And it felt really fun and easy. And I wanted to follow that voice instead of any other coaches or anything else outside of myself. But it was really scary because that led me to breaking relationships that I'd had for so long. That led me to literally just stopping all outside mentorship for a while and really just diving in myself. And it was scary to be in quote unquote alone. And but I embraced it, and I saw my pregnancy as sort of a spiritual journey, this more reawakening that I was coming back to myself and my own nourishment, my own nurturing of my own truth. And that kind of led me to more of a spiritual coach in that realm. And I took a mastermind. I was in channeling, and I channeled a beautiful program called Soul Guided. And I was teaching people right off the bat, my soul, there's no slowly building momentum. It was just bam, you're in it. You're a full-on spiritual entrepreneur now. This is your calling. Get in there and teach people what you're literally learning and then adapting and applying right now. And so I did. I went off running, and I was okay, this is what I teach now. And it was I call myself a soul alignment coach, and I think that's still applicable, but I really like soul embodiment kind of evolved into that from that first program. And now embodiment to me is a lot more of the the physicalness connects the body connected to the spiritual. And that's what I feel has really made a shift in my life. Is I have embodied my pleasure on a different level. I've embodied just fun and play and just true joy in my body, and feeling the sensations and being really connected, because I feel your body's a spiritual vessel, right? So that has connected me deeper with my spiritual guides, I call it like your soul voice is what I call it. Like it's not necessarily a guide, it's just like your truth speaking to you, you know? And I feel it, like, especially when I'm in water and things like that. Like that has always been a huge connection to me, like that feeling of water and the bath, you know, out in the ocean, that kind of thing. So like that has really like transformed me into like the soul embodiment coach, helping people tap into trusting of themselves, because that was my journey began, was when I started to trust myself over like everyone else. And it's led me here where I am literally teaching people how to activate like their own soul voice and to follow that in their businesses and to allow that to be their anchor. And it's like taught me to shed a lot of my, you know, preconceived notions of femininity, of you know, the patriarchy, and like breaking down those, like, you know, you call it deconditioning. I love that. Deconditioning like everything you've ever believed, and like really going back to like the truth of it all. And that has been a huge healing journey for me. And I'm so glad this is my path. It excites me every single time I talk about it, every single time I teach people about it, because it's just this reclaiming of that truth within you, and it shows on the outside. It goes in your body, and it like penetrates your cells, and it changes everything. It changes everything about your world. And if you let it, you know, like that's the journey.
Oh, I can't hear you. We've just lost you for a second. Let's see. But yeah, I completely can relate to what you're talking about, because it was literally like my journey 8-9 years ago, where my life was falling apart, depression, bipolar, going through divorce, and literally ready to like leave my life. And then I just heard these words within my head, which I guess is what you're talking about. And I heard the words, "You have to help yourself." And it was literally like, where did they come from? Who said that? Like, and it was for the first time that I heard the voice inside. And I love what you do, Sabrina, because same as you, this is exactly what changed my life and started to connect me back to my truth, was to hear that for myself, to trust that for myself. And that's what I call truth.
Yes.
Truth is that power within. Okay, we can hear you now.
Yeah. I'm sorry that like my earphones were messing up, so
no problem. Yeah, so like hearing that. And do you find like sometimes, I would love to travel back in a minute before you were stood in this embodiment, and a couple of things I want to really pull out is, I love what you're saying about the embodiment, and it's different, because I hear so many women, clients, other people like just saying, yeah, I know that, I know that, I know that. And we can know with the mind, but it isn't until you know with the body. And for me, embodiment is just like, it is that a whole, and you've embodied what you know in your mind in almost like every cell of your body. It's almost like, you know, but then you know, and
like it's like habit. It's like in your cell. It's like in your body now. Like it's not like something you think about anymore. Like that's what I think. Yeah.
And it's almost like when somebody tries to, you know, either try and convince you somewhere else, or, you know, it's like a belief. When there's a belief in there that you know that's in your body, it's like, yeah, I know this, and it's a feeling. And I think I'd love to get your concept on this, but when I connect to truth, God, universe, higher self, whatever that energy is, you know, we can name it what we wish. It almost doesn't have word, almost words don't describe the feeling within the body. Yeah. And you know I've had conversation with Simon and my clients, and they're like, but what is it? And you just like, almost I go to the space of like, it's just absolute pure ecstasy, like pure amazingness. And I always say it's almost like having an orgasm without having the physical orgasm. Like, I don't know how else to describe it. I'd love to hear what you say, but I'm just like you can literally just put your hand on your heart and just connect, and your whole body's just like, oh, isn't it?
Relaxing. Yes, it is like an embodiment orgasm. Like it's so like I feel like I just thinking back to like times when I'm like meditating in the bath and I'm like really like connecting with that spiritual voice, and I almost feel like my heart grows, and like I feel like this widening of like my cells. I'm like opening up, and it's like I feel like the capacity within me for more is just like opened up, and
Yeah.
I feel that it's happening. It's here. It's yours. You're safe. Like this is yours. Like that just continue that feeling. Like it's a feeling. I can't, right. I
Can't
can't put
explain
words
it,
to
can you?
it.
It's
Yeah.
sometimes so hard to like try, and especially when somebody hasn't experienced that for themselves. They're like, oh, what? So you're like really happy and stuff. And it's like, no, it's like, and you try to
Euphoric.
describe
Yeah.
it. It's like,
I don't know. Like,
and until you feel it for yourself, like I don't think words almost can describe it, but when you feel it, you just know. And I love what I think you were about to say, but I always think when you're connected to truth, when you're connected to yourself inside, and that voice, that feeling, I always say, like, you don't need anything else now outside of you. It is the most safest, loving, like connected, like all the words and everything that we desire. I feel when you connect to truth in this way, like freedom, abundance, like all the words that we crave as a human, like the minute you connect into yourself and you connect back to your truth and that power within, like you literally, that is all the sensation. I guess it's all those sensations.
it's
Oh,
all
I've never
over.
had
That's
this
what I call
before,
it,
but
embodiment. Like it's in
yeah,
your body, and it's like this like knowing in your body, and it's like your mind gets to let go. You're like anxiety is like disappeared. It's just like you're fully
yeah,
in that like trust.
yeah,
And I mean, that is just a feeling. It's like what you do with that that really elevates your life, because it's like we can
yes,
tap into that and we can be like, oh yes, so I get it, I feel it, and then you're like, don't do anything with it, then it just like dissipates. I feel
yeah,
like when the less I like act my soul actions, the less I feel like I'm able to access
right,
that soul, because it needs that, it needs the human. That's why feel like it
yeah.
needs that human and soul dancing and moving and working together to
Mm.
strengthen and deepen that bond
Yeah.
with your soul. So
Because
yeah.
like what I experienced, I think like when you connect to truth, you literally are connected to this source energy, and source energy is just energy, right? Unless it comes through the body, isn't it? So we put so much power into our higher selves, God, truth, whatever we call it, and it's like, actually, but without this human that you have here, you're just going to feel like, let's just call it love, whatever the vibration is, all you're going to ever feel is love. And this is what source energy is all the time. It's just a frequency of love. And it's kind of going, do you know what, love's great, but I want to go and experience fear. I want to go and experience excitement. I want to go and experience the thrill. I want to go and experience all these other experiences. So without the human, you're right.
Yeah.
It's like you could lay there all day and just connect to source, and it is bliss. But it's like if you did that all day long, every day, you'll just be like, well,
Your
what
life is
now?
the same. Like it won't change. Nothing changes unless we
Yeah,
experience the human side of it all,
right.
the embodiment of it all, like the actual, like, okay, now you have this truth, now go and like walk with it. And that's when it gets fearful, that's when it gets scary. But then
Mhm.
it's, we have to keep coming back to the truth and be like, yeah, this is what it is. Like, yes, keep going, yes, keep
Okay.
going, yes, keep
I
going.
would love to know then, what is one thing that you heard from your truth that you then embodied and you had to move with the human, that like almost, scared you, and it was like, the human's going, no, and your truth's going, yes, and you're like in this little like duality. What's one thing where you felt that, and what did it feel like? Where was the human? And what was the result when you trusted and you actually followed that? I guess it's like, maybe one of your manifestations or something that happened that you really trusted and followed. And it was like, yeah, but the human was like, really?
Yeah. So I think the beginning of my journey was very much like that. Like I was so fearful in changing everything I had done. Like I was very much the practical, the mindset, the like, just talking about like the thinking side of it all. And going from that to like straight up spiritual, soul guide, soul alignment, I was like, no one knows that. No one knows me for that. I don't talk about those things. Like, how can I like even say I've had barely any journey with that. I've only been meditating on my own, not even talking about it on social media or anything. This has been a completely separate journey. And like, how can I teach that? And my soul was like, here's the program, here's the modules, here's what you're doing. Like, they had it all downloaded, like one session for me. And I was like, what? I can't do this. I can't like all of a sudden be like this spiritual leader. And they're like, you're doing it. Like, just
Yeah.
go, like, this is what you're supposed to do. And I, like, everything was there, and I was like at the crossroads of like, I'm gonna take this leap and change everything, and like go off into the unknown, because no one I knew was doing this really. Like, I was paving my own path, manifestor style. And or just stick with what I know and what felt comfortable. And really, like, at that point, I was searching and opening my heart up to like this new way of thinking that I was like, okay, I trust. And that was like teaching that program, and like teaching people how to connect with their soul and how it felt for me, and speaking about my experiences. It was so like visceral and like joyful. I felt like, oh, this is what like teaching feels like. This is how it's supposed to feel like when you're really truly connecting with what you're talking about, and like embodying what you're talking about. And so I've never turned back. Like, every other thing I've done has been like, and like even as motherhood and all that journey has like shaped my connection, my embodiment, and changed the way I'm able to like connect every day. That has influenced everything that I've done, and like it just continues adding new layers of depth and new layers of openness and new challenges. I've had so much challenge in my life too. Like, the human has gone through it.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's not necessarily like life's going to be easy when you soul and body, but it's also like you have that anchor. So there's this anchor of truth that you always come back to. So when you feel like you're strung out in the middle of the ocean, just like, I am lost, this is terrible, everything in the world is against me, you have like this line that's pulling you back, like that's constantly there. And that's that feeling
Yeah.
that you can always connect back to.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, that was a huge leap for me, and I'm so glad I did it. That was like
Yeah.
2020 2021. Yeah.
I love that. And then, yeah, this is your thing. This is what you're supposed to do. And I'm, even sometimes like now recently, I still, so I sort of sit in the quietness, and then I tend to journal. So I soul write. So, my truth comes out in my words and writing when I'm asking and having these two-way conversations. Or I like to get it on writing. I can see it. Sometimes it happens like, as soon as I wake up in the morning, or, when I go into bed, I just connect and it comes through. But I just lost my train of thought then, where I was going with this. But yeah, that's what you're saying. Like, there's things where you're just like, when your fears come up, like, or for me, when fears come up, I just come back to that space. Exactly what you're saying. You almost have that line and you come back. And when you connect in that way, like, you do feel safe. You do feel worthy. You do feel loved. You do feel connected. And like you say, then the humanness almost dissipates. So we can, dissolve the fears and do that. And then it's almost like, do you know what? I can go and do anything, because even if somebody judges me, even if somebody rejects me, even if I fail, even if I fall flat on my face, all I need to do is just come back to this space. And I know that I'm loved, even if I make mistakes. I know that, I'm worthy. I know that I can feel peace. I know I can feel safety when I just come back to this, like, to this space. And it is just like it's in like an absolute savior and a courage builder at the same time, because it's like, okay, I can step out as the human, because I know if anything happens, all I need to do is come back to this space. And so it's like, it's okay.
It's like your cheerleader, but it's also not gonna like just cheer you on, and like it's gonna push you. It's gonna push you out of your comfort zone, but it's gonna be with you throughout that like uncomfortableness.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a lot of the growth I've done, even just like with exploring my pleasure and like connecting with these wounded parts of me. Like, it's been really scary and like heartbreaking at times to go back to the pain, but I know that like my soul is not going to let me like just drown and be overwhelmed by that. It's going to hold me, It's like this whole feeling of just of being safe to heal, being safe
Right.
to like do things you never thought you'd do, or say things you never thought you'd say, because you're held.
Yeah.
And like I love that. Like it's the best.
I, like you, exactly what you're saying, like the spiritual journey, like anybody listening who thinks that it's just like, oh, this is amazing, like we've got a spiritual journey. Yes, when you connect, you do get that. But also then when you start to get closer to truth and your, level of awareness raises, and how you start to see yourself and the awareness around yourself, I definitely believe like you are then handed up on a silver platter, like all the crap that doesn't align with that. And it goes, see, this is where you're not worthy.
Yeah.
This is why you feel like this. Yeah. And it's just like, oh my gosh, you feel like it is really, is there any more in there that we're going to pull out? And then there is. Like the last couple of days, I've pulled out some real deep healing. And I'm like, I did all my deconditioning last year. Like, surely there's just little things now that are going to come up. And there's been some real big, like gut wrenching healing. I love to tap to get it out of the body. And it's just like what? And it makes me laugh at the same time. I'm like tapping, crying, and riffing up the words, whatever the modality is that I choose, and you like laugh at the same time. But that is the process, isn't it? Every time you peel away a level of this false persona that we've embodied, it's just like you pull that away. And I guess when you understand that you're always going to be on this journey, like until you cross over, till your transition, but it still kind of like makes you go, really anymore? Like, this, but it's like, where did that come from? And it just like jumps out, and you're like, no way. So for example, this morning I was journaling, had my music on my headphones, and I did something yesterday where a word was coming up. The word sacrifice was coming up, and I could feel in my body like, this is a bit, do you know what? I'm done with sacrifice. And I wrote it out in big letters on a piece of paper. And I just thought, normally I tap out, but I was like, oh no, I'm just going to rip it up. And every rip, I could feel it all coming up and out of my body. Now, my son goes to forest school and loves like, anything, fire pits, things like that. And so I was like, babe, I got some paper needs burning, like set up a little fire. We're going to burn this out and have like a bit of a ceremony. So then this morning, Mummy, have you got any more words for me to like burn? And I was like, hold on. I was feeling so good. I was in this new energy, this new content stuff I'm pulling out. I said, just give Mummy a minute. Let me just see if there's anything there. So I just connected and pulled out, what needs to come up. And all of a sudden I felt like really sick. All these tears came from nowhere. And he wanted lots of paper. So he was like, can you write one word on every page? I must have gone through like 15 pages, if not more, of this book. And these words just flew out, and I was writing, there was tears everywhere. And I just had to explain to him, Mummy's just processing. These words have feelings in Mummy's body. So I may cry, I may laugh, I may whatever. And I'm like, and he's like, okay, Mummy, like, I'll leave you for a minute. You can cry and keep writing. Just tell me when you got the paper ready for me to light it. It was like that. And it was like, when, it just, when you ask, it is given.
You ask, it just comes out, and it comes out ugly crying usually. That was me, like, like just 2 days ago, like, yesterday morning was like, I just like, I triggered a situation. I was like so mad at the world, at the at like everything. And I was just like crying, like soul gut wrenching tears. And I was like in the car driving, my daughter's in the back seat. I'm like, Mommy's just processing, like Mommy needs to release this right now, just so you know. Like, I might be cursing, I might be everything, but it's not, it just needs to come out. And obviously she's like, okay, whatever. But like after that, like after I went through that, and also like took care of my body and like comforted myself and like really truly anchored back with the truth, like I was like, okay, that was needed. Like that sucks, but it was so needed to like rewire some stuff, to recalibrate, and like actually remember what my truth is. Like I needed to get out all of this ugliness, all these beliefs I was holding on to, and that was the way they needed to come out of the body. So yeah, like we never know like what the soul is going to lead us through, because it is a journey, and it's not going to be straight like amazing, connect to my soul, make all the money, and I'm perfectly happy all the time. No, there's going to be lots of preconditions, like your body has so many things that it's gone through that it's like, okay, I feel safe now to release, to show you, to like make you aware of this pain that's here, of this like trauma, of this thing that you never realized like it impacted the way you think and do things. But
yeah,
I'm ready to heal. Like it's like they're opening themselves to you, and it's our job to go through that. And I've gone through so much change, and like just like I have to trust so much in like my soul's like you, okay, this is really really hard, and this feels hopeless in the world standards. I feel like everything's against me, but I have to keep connecting back to the spiritual and that my soul, because in the soul standards it's not, it's like it's needed. So
yeah, it almost normalizes like the negative. Like I don't know if you find this, but it's like my partner Simon had a stroke back in September of last year, and I just knew, I was like, okay, this is his opportunity to rewire, rebirth. He's gonna have to do life differently. But do you know what, it was almost like that was needed in a way. And so stroke happened, and it was like, okay, this is always for us. Everything's always for us. This is for us. What's it for? Oh yeah, it gives Simon a chance to decompress. Like there was lots of stress there with work and other things. And it was like, okay, now he's been like taken off his feet, couldn't walk, couldn't do any of that. You're going to rest, you're going to look after yourself, you're going to rethink how you want to live life now, and you get that opportunity. So that was there. And then like I'm over here going, okay, now I'm running everything. I'm running the family, running the house, running the business, running the money, manifestor style. Great. Don't need to like speak with anybody. I'm off and doing my thing. And it was like, yeah, this really gets to be, a good opportunity for me to just go, yeah, I get to do what I want to do. I don't really need to inform many people. Like he's out of it. He's in the house next door. So I don't need to discuss anything with him. And it just felt like really freeing, and just allowed me to step up as well, to take that role, because everything was kind of coming through Simon, because it was the path of least resistance. And it was like, okay, now Claire, you're on this deconditioning run. Let's see where you're at now. Now you've got to be the leader. And, some people can see that as being really cold, or very, non-emotional, non-caring, non-empathetic. And I just feel sometimes when you're on that level of truth, it's just like, but this is truth. Like there's nothing wrong with it. Yes, we don't want it to come out in that way. We didn't want Simon to be affected in the way that he was, but it's just like, but we almost don't get that choice. We always bring into us whatever is needed for our higher selves, for us to move forward. And yeah, it can look crap. We ended up, my dad going through cancer. He had to have some, his finger and stuff removed, and all this stuff that was going on. That was this, like recently, just a month ago. And people like, how are you so strong, Claire? And it was like, it's not strength. It's just this core, this deep knowing that when you connect to God, it's just like, yeah, to the human, it looks ugly. To the human, it looks painful. It looks hurtful and poor us, those kind of things. But it's just like, nope, this is for us. Like we get to move through those things.
Yeah. And everything like is a new layer of depth and teaching and just trust you never thought you'd have to access or be able to access. And it's just like it humbles you, and it shows you like what's next. Like it's like there's no plateauing with this soul journey. Like it's continual growth, and the growth, like, yeah, it does take some hard experiences, does take some things that just rock you to your core and seem like this can't be for me. But it's like trying to find, how is this working for me? How is this teaching me? How is this leading me into deeper trust and access to my truth? How is this going to, bring tenfold more in abundance to me, and I don't even know it yet? So it's like, for me, there's been a lot of that trust of like it, like not looking at my circumstances and being like, well, this is all it is, and I have to look beyond. I have to follow the soul and be like, okay, there's more coming to me. It's all in the works. I just can't see it. And that's when that journey is like that relationship with soul is just so powerful, because it's leading you blindly in a way, but you're trusting, and you're actually like, when you open your eyes to it, the abundance is already there. There's so much to be grateful for, and you were just so caught up in the feelings and the human, and that's okay sometimes to get there, but it's like it brings you out of that in a very beautiful way. That I just think that's like what every human needs, is that like connection to their soul, because it's connecting with just like this truth that has no bounds on, society has no, like there's nothing that can take it away from you. There's nothing that can dampen it down. Like it is yours. So when you discover that, and everyone has that, when you discover that voice, like you're unstoppable. Like you say, you were going through all of this and it looked like, are you not feeling any of this? Are you not like, isn't this like rocking you to your core? Like, yes, it is, but I'm not letting it break me, because my soul is there, like I'm connected. Like it's gonna be okay. and,
like that,
and people
didn't
don't
know
understand
it
that because it's so foreign. Yeah.
and people think that's strength, and I really want to pick up on something else again in a second. But it was like, we would go and take Simon to the hospital. I would go and travel to the hospital. It's like 2 hours each way. I would come home. Sometimes I'd have the kids, so it's like, put this face on and do the ceremony, do the kids, feed them, get ready for school, make sure everybody's got lifts everywhere, everything good. Some nights were like that, and then some nights where I didn't have the kids, because we're a blended family, I would just sit on the sofa, put Netflix on, bowl of cereal for dinner, and I would ugly cry. I would cry, I would get angry. Why Simon? Why us? Like, and the human would go through that. And it's almost like having these two conversations, because it's like, in your body different, but then it's having the trust also, knowing that everything's going to be okay, and I'm allowed to cry and process and be a human as well, because I think those two things are beautiful. And I loved what you were saying earlier about water and the bath, and I'm very much the same. Like, I just hear my intuition would just be like, go to the shower, and you're like, why now? And I have a shower, wash my hair, do whatever. And now I've started to sit down in the shower as well, and I just sit there, and it's like ding, 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 and the downloads come. And then the bath, I like you were saying, when you've gone through some healing, or you've experienced something, a bit of a shake in the body, I have the pool to the bath. That's like my, let's just give this time, bit like today and yesterday it happened, supposed to be off walking with my son. I'm like, wait, mum's got to go to the bath now. Because I'd ugly cried, because I'd shifted stuff out of the body, it's like, hold on, you just need to give yourself grace, compassion, like you said, just like holding yourself. And so anybody who's listening, who's going through this, like, make sure, or do some of these things, go and have the bath and allow the body time to catch up with the energetic shifts. Otherwise, it's like you don't allow the process to fully go through its cycle. That we go, okay, I've shifted that, great, what's the next thing, and it's just like the body's like, oh, give me a minute. It's like,
I need to catch up. Like it needs
allow the
like a lot more tender loving care. Like the soul just goes and goes and goes, because it doesn't have that weight, doesn't have that experience that the body has. It's just like, this is next, this is next, this is next. And your body's like, oh, but I have fears, I have things I've gone through, I have like conditioning, like I need to be like taken care of through this. Like, not that they can't go through that journey, but they need the love, that needs the warmth, that needs the, I'm safe. Like, so a lot of times when you're having that reaction, it is your body just freaking out because they're not used to it. And it's like,
and it's like, it was like today, like I went back to school time with us, what, nearly 30 odd years ago. So the body's going, hold on a minute, I've had this in me for 30 years and you've just hoiked the whole thing up. And the body's like going, well, what? I don't know now. There's like, neuro pathways that like don't work anymore, don't cross over anymore. There's the body that's just like, hold on, I've lived with this for 30 years and now you've just ripped this away from me in like a few minutes. You've ripped this whatever it is, a belief, these feelings out of my body. It's like, just give the body a moment to go, okay.
Hold on one second. I need to go. Like my dog is like freaking out. I don't know. Hold on one second. I'm
Let's
so
check
sorry.
it out. No problem. No, I'll keep talking. Yeah, so really make sure when you're connecting to your truth, when you're connecting to your higher self, that you give yourself that time to connect and to listen, and ask yourself the questions as well, because so many people say the answers are within you. They really, really are. And so when you connect with your truth, use that time to, what questions do you want answered? Like, and you can literally ask yourself and the answers will come through, whether that's through card pulling, whether that's through the conversations in your head, whether that's writing down. Like, you get to sink into that time to really connect and get the answers, the questions answered that you want. And then when the healing and the deconditioning is like just allowing yourself to absorb and be compassionate with yourself as well. So you've got like the joyous side of connecting with your truth, and then you've got the healing process, and the whole thing needs to be looked at and dealt with compassion, love, forgiveness, honesty. And I think that's how that completely wraps up in that way. So something, Sabrina, that I've always had this belief, and I'm not sure, I would love to know what your view of this is. When I talk about empowerment, a lot of people think that I mean powerful, as in either like the masculine power, or like when I was asked, how are you so strong? And I believe, this is my belief that come through, or what I was told through my truth, is empowerment is literally that connection to truth. When you plug into the power source that is, you then have the energy flow through you, and so you are empowered. And powerful, I see people who are not empowered but are very powerful, whether that's through confidence, through I don't know, great experiences, or knowing their worth, or even through fear. You have some people that have a very insecure inside, and so they come across very powerful to protect themselves. I would love to know, what is your belief around powerful and empowered? Are they two separate things? Do you believe you can be empowered but not powerful? You can be powerful and not empowered? Like, what does that mean for you when you connect in?
Yeah, I mean, I connect more with the word empowered, because that one feels very unique to yourself and your energy. So empowered feels like, oh yeah, I'm connected to my own truth. I'm acting from this space, and like I'm not letting any outside person like sway me. Like, this is my truth. I'm going for it. I'm expressing myself. I'm showing up. I am living my truth. Like, that's empowered to me. And I feel like with powerful, that's just like a word taken from, take it in the patriarchy. That means like, oh, you're working hard and you're hustling. And I think that view of the word powerful, we can take back that word, like take back that I think it goes together. I think empowered and powerful, it goes together. I'm powerful because I like literally manifest everything I desire, and like I speak it into existence. I'm powerful. I'm empowered because I know my values, my beliefs, my core truths, and I live by that. That's more the inner empowerment. So I guess the powerful is more like on the outside, what people might see, and maybe the empowered is how you feel. I think that's kind of
I love that. Yeah, that's really, really beautiful. So, the clients that I work with are very successful clients. They're out there on the online space, they're earning lots of money, they're very successful, they have the clients, and yet for them there's like, this void, this disalignment, this fear of self-expression. And it is literally that work that, like you say, unless you have this embodied, empowered, connected relationship, I believe there's always going to feel like a disalignment, or not true.
Something's missing. I don't enjoy this. Why doesn't this feel good? I thought it would
Yeah.
make everything better, you know, that kind of, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And I think a word that's come up for me this week is like the word whole. That's another word that I feel like when you're really connected to your truth and you're trusting that and you're moving in that, you do feel this sense of like wholeness. And I feel, my clients come to me and they don't feel that wholeness. And like you, I help them connect back to them, their truth. Like I keep putting everything back to them, back to them, back to them, back to them, because they are empowered. They may just feel a bit disempowered or a little bit, disconnected at the time. But when you put it back and they start to, like you say, build that relationship back with their truth in themselves, then they get this inner sense of wholeness, and then they get to expand their businesses and their purpose, like from that space forward. And I think that is something, is a really beautiful experience. So what I would love to know, Sabrina, just imagine now that we have a listener or a watcher watching, a viewer watching, and they may be going, oh, it's all right for you two, like, I sit there and I meditate, and I don't feel empowered, like this stuff. What is something that you can just share with the audience now, that one or two things that would really help them to connect back to their truth? Because
It does
I
seem
know
like
my
you found
answer,
your
but
idea. Yeah.
is it just meditation? Is it just journaling? Like, because I feel like you can journal and not be connected. I feel like you can try and meditate and not be connected. What's like your number one, number two, how could you help somebody right now that doesn't have that relationship with their
Yeah.
truth?
Yeah. So it is a practice. Like I feel like I didn't just automatically get here and it was super easy. Like I said, I went through that book and it helped me with some like ways of thinking and ways of accessing my soul. But it is like this this openness and awareness of what is a thought versus what is like a feeling and what is like something beyond that, which is like your soul voice. So when had meditated for a while and just like, to help anxiety and just kind of things like that to just calm my mind. And it really did help and stuff. But this was a new level, I felt like. That's why I call like when I am working with a client, I call them activations, because we're not just meditating together.
Mhm.
It is like whatever is coming out of my mouth and into their aura and their brain is like activating something within them, a thought, a feeling, something to heal, like a message.
Yes.
So when you're on your own, when I'm on my own, like I'm able to do it much more quickly now. But when I was first starting, I just had to work on clearing my mind of like all the thoughts and like gently like saying goodbye to them, like they teach you in meditation, but getting to that place of ultimate like stillness with myself, no matter what was happening outside, but the stillness. And in that stillness, I was able to, my human can ask a question. That's what it's really good to have like, I call it like a soul intention. When you have like a soul intention, you're like, I want to know more about this, or I have a question about this. And it can be open ended, it can be specific, whatever. But it's like you have to be open to whatever comes through and just kind of trust that like whatever comes through after you ask that question, after you put out the intention, that is a sign, that is a message. There is something there, even if you don't know what it means. So a lot of the time, like when I first in my soul guided program, I work with people on like just kind of like what is coming through, like even the smallest little thing. Maybe you get a glimpse of like a childhood home. Maybe you see a bird. Maybe you see some sort of like soul code, like in a different language, or something comes through. Maybe it's not even a vision. You hear something. That's me. I'm more like auditory.
Yeah, me too.
Or if you like you want to write something down, like you can do this, not necessarily in that type of meditation. So it's kind of like being open to whatever comes through and trusting that that's meaningful and like it's not just a thought from your brain. And
Yeah.
the more you do this, I think the more you start to be like, okay, that's a thought and that's me trying to control the situation versus this is like something outside of myself.
Mhm.
So it's very much a unique like journey. That's why like with embodiment, I think it's so unique to your schedule, the way you tap into soul, the way you connect. So like whether it's dance, movement, writing, meditation,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
all of those things can connect you to these messages and this truth, but you have to figure it out for yourself. And so it is very much a disciplined practice, I feel like, to like do this, because it's not for someone who's like, yeah, I just want to tap into this like immediately. And there is sometimes when you go to activations or channeling sessions where it is the energy of all the people like radiates and like opens something within you, but it is like this openness you have to come to the circle with. And that's kind of what I cultivated on my own, was just this openness to that voice. So when I did go into like more of a group setting with other spiritual minded people, I was able to get downloads a lot faster because I was already open and listening. So that's the biggest thing, like figure out how to listen, how to really hear it for yourself.
And trust it.
Yeah.
Because I know, you know,
huge trust, because weird things will come through. You'll be like, what the heck? and like for me, sometimes I'll nap and things will come through. Like just sleep is a huge one. That like I'm already activated, I'm already in the openness state, and the mind and the soul just speaks. So.
Yeah. I remember Simon and I, was it last year? Last year, we were umming and ahhing whether to sell 2 cars and buy this Volkswagen van. And we'd already been to the garage and we'd seen it. And then we were like, do we, don't we? And we were like flying around in our heads for a bit. Anyway, we left it. One afternoon, I went and took a nap and I woke up and I just heard buy the van. And I was like, okay, where's Simon? Like, and I ran downstairs and he's on the phone. I'm like, who are you on the phone to? Like, who are you on the phone to? He's like, I'm on the phone to the garage. Like, we're just talking through, both of our other cars needed some repair work. So the guy was going to help us. And I was like, no, stop. I just heard we got to buy the van. He's like, oh, hold on a minute. Claire's just coming in. He's like, what? I'm like, he's like, I'm just talking about repairing the other 2. And I said, no, I just heard we got to buy the van. Okay, no, right. Stop the repair work. Like, Claire's just said we need to buy the van. We're going to buy the van. Oh, okay. So we did an exchange. Like we put our 2 cars in and we got this new van. Anyway, he got really friendly with the guy anyway. And later on we went back in, we were doing some work or something with it. I can't remember what we were doing. He was like, oh my God, like those 2 cars you had, like that needed so much money on it. That one needed so much money on it. Like you 2 got a deal out of me. And it was like, because I just woke up and I just heard the words, you got to get the van. I didn't know Simon was on the phone to the garage. I'd been asleep for a nap. And it was like, in that moment, like, go, trust it, follow it, get the van. And the van has been amazing. And it was the van that, you know, when Simon had his stroke at the rugby club, the only way I could get him home, because we had all the kids as well. Luckily, it had this huge, long, it was a VW like camper type van. So it had a huge, long boot that I could get him in, led down, because obviously he couldn't walk. You know, we didn't know what was wrong with him at the time. I had the other 6 seats all full up with kids. And it was just like, you know, we always laugh now and just like, you know, was that for Simon's ambulance? Like, because we were going to convert it. We've never converted it. We sold it again now. And it was just like, why did we need that great big van? Like it never got converted, which was what it was about. But it was like trusting that, like you say, I just woke up and heard, go move, you know, go get the van. And so anybody, you know, when you hear these, like you say, like Sabrina's saying, is like, if you hear something, you just got to trust it. And it will sound like you. It will sound like when you hear the download, you're like, but that was me. I just heard myself. It's like, this is where it can get really confusing when you're new to this, because it's like, yeah, that was you and your thoughts are you and it sounds like you. And it's like, yep.
It's different because it kind of like I examine my motivations. Like if I am questioning it for whatever reason, I examine motivations. Did I want that answer like for some specific reason? Did I want to manipulate it? Or if there was no like intention on my own part to get that specific answer, and like how it feels in my body feels super like good and trusting, and yes, this is it, like that, I connect it with that, like the embodiment, like I said, like, it's not just the soul, it's like, okay, how does it feel in my body? Okay, it feels like truth. All right, we're gonna go with it. And like, don't question it for like that long, because like you can talk yourself out of it. Like there's so many things that I've like been like, I don't know, but like you just have to go. You kind of have to act like as soon as you can, act it, write it down, whatever you can do at that moment, go and do it. So
and I always say like, it's like the first thing that comes through. Like if you need to sit and wait and nothing's coming through and it's just like, no, that's not it. It's that like you're almost asking, or this happens for me, but I'm almost asking my question and the answer's already in before I've got to the end of the question. Is like, okay, like your brain couldn't kind of work all that out. It's just like, and I know, like, you know, when I start connecting, I was writing a book, was it last year or the year before? And I remember like I'd just be making a cup of coffee and it would all start pouring in. I'd be like, wait a minute, I need to go and get my pen. Like it's almost like they're just like, yeah, we know what you want. Like they just come in and speak, whether it's your guide, your soul, your truth, whatever. It's just like, whoa, wait a minute. So I was like, the first thing that comes through, and it can come through pretty quick, is just like, trust it.
Yeah. And I think when you get to that point, like you said, like you're just minding your own business, doing your life, and like something starts pouring through and you're like, it feels different. It feels like it needs to be said. It feels like it needs to be shared. It feels like it needs to be out there. Like that is a truth. Like I you know, sometimes I'm like, I don't really know what I'm inspired to say today, and like just go on and on and I'm like just working on something, and like something just comes through, like a thought, you're like, huh, and you're like, that comes through again, or something, it adds on, you're like, huh, okay, never mind, I need to write this down. Like this is something, it's not just like a random thought. So like a lot of the times it is because I've like experienced something, I've embodied something, like something has anchored at a new level. I'm very much like experienced, like that's the way I like really learn something. So when it's fully embodied and learned, that's when I can share about it. And that's been magic. It's been magic to share what I've experienced, because that is like connecting it to that embodiment, and it hits someone else's body and it like speaks to them that way. And it's just this huge connector when we share our truth, like our specific, unique, like truth, whatever we learned, whatever we feel, whatever we are experiencing in the moment, it's magic. Like just trust that, if anything, you know, like trust that what you're thinking and feeling and experiencing is meant to be shared, is meant to be
100%.
like taught or whatever.
Yeah. And sometimes it can sound like so simple. Like I remember, you know, I keep sometimes journaling out, I think it's what I was going to say earlier and I lost my thought, is like, you know, so what is it I'm helping people with? Like what do you really want? And it always comes out, it's this. It's you and me. It's this relationship that we have together. Like that's what you're doing. Yeah, but the human's like, yeah, but I can't just talk about that. Like the human's not going to get that. What do we? It's just like, no, just share this. And it's like, it actually makes it really easy then for like, if you're in business, you know, for content and things like that, because you have that connection, you have that conversation. It's like, okay, now go share that. Like go share what's just come through, because you know, I believe there's a great book out there that we got recently. I don't know if you've read it. It's called I Am, I Create. And it's one of the books that absolutely not blew my mind, but just like brought me home on such a deeper level to go. And they're basically having conversation, like this lady called Erin, she channels, and her partner would ask the questions, and then she, a bit like an Abraham Hicks type scenario, but they write the book like Phil says, God says, Phil says, God said, and then run it all through Erin. And it was like, yeah, this is what it's like when you connect to your truth, when you connect to that higher power, because you are just having these two-way conversations with yourself. And I know, like when I write, it's very much when I'm reading it, say sharing it with Simon or sharing it with somebody, it's like you have to literally say I said, and then God said, or I will, like here we sometimes, like if that's, you know, the power within, there's a collective that's coming through, and you really get to, like when you're writing or when you're connecting that way, you understand when you're speaking as the human and when the message is coming through. But when you're writing that down, then you share it with somebody else, you're like, oh yeah, God said that, or you know, your truth said that, and oh, I said that bit, and then this was what the reply was from God, you know. And it's just like, it can get really like, because that's how it gets to be, isn't it? It is like having these two-way conversations with yourself, and it's just like you ask and then the answer comes through, your questions, the answers come through, and it's just like you say, this beautiful dance between human and soul. Sabrina, I feel like we could talk this through for like days on end. I love this freaking topic. This is what literally saved my life and sounds like it's completely converted your life to where you are right now. We're both doing the same work. Like, I absolutely love it. And it just shows, like, you know, we don't need to be doing things like, you know, oh, I can't talk about that because Sabrina is, or can't talk about that because Claire is, I need to do something different. I think this is a really nice evidence that both of us are talking about the same things, yet we're different. Our experiences will be different. Our belief systems around it will be different. And I think that's what, you know, gives other people permission to go, you don't need to do it the way I do it. You don't need to do it how Sabrina does it. Like, we help you to experience how you deal with it. And I remember once going, well, how do I tell people to just like lay there and just, and then all this stuff comes flying through. How do I say to people, get in the shower and all your downloads come through? Because you can't teach it in that way, can you? How it's just like, you just talk, you share your experiences, you know, this works for me, this works for, and it's just like you say, everybody's on their own soul journey. So if you're trying to connect to yourself, to your truth, if you're wanting this beautiful relationship, please be really careful with yourself and have compassion with yourself, because it will look very different. We were literally out for lunch with a group of soul sisters last week, and there was this lady that does shamanic healings, and she's done all this training, and she was talking about it, and I was like, can I ask a question for a minute? Do you believe you have to be like taught? And I said, because I do that with my clients anyway, but I never knew it was like shamanic work. I never knew it was called that name. I never knew this. I was never taught it. And you know, you don't need to be taught things, because it will come through you. And then she was talking about the Akashic records, and I'm like, yeah, I tried to do a training on that once, never did, but tell me more about it. And she was explaining it, and I was like, but yeah, that's what I do anyway. So it's just like you say, trust in yourself, like that higher power that comes through you. Like, you don't need to have all the qualifications. You don't need to go on a training program. How do you connect to yourself? Like, you know, follow people like Sabrina, follow people like myself that just help you and you know, guide you through your own experience, that you don't need to go and learn. This is how you connect with your soul. It's like, no, what does connecting with your soul feel like for you? What does this feel like for you? And I do think that, you know, Sabrina's going to is somebody amazing that can help you do it that way, rather than going, this is how you connect. Because if somebody did it my way, they'd just go, this woman's like,
for me, I don't know what she's talking about, you know.
Off her head, like just lay there and like not do much, and then, oh, just journal. What? And it's like, no, it's not that. But yeah. So Sabrina, thank you so much. Like I say, I could just keep going and going and going, and I won't. But where can people find you on the online space? Because I think, you know, this has been an amazing episode. It's a subject that needs to be spoken about more and more and more and more. And I feel that so many people in the world would, no matter where their external situation, no matter where their life is at, no matter what they have, what they don't have, when you connect back to your truth in this way, like, it reinstalls peace, it reinstalls faith, it reinstalls
it's free.
And it's free. Exactly that. So where can people find you?
So I'm on Instagram at Sabrina Haesche, Soul Embodiment Coach, and Facebook. That's where I hang out. I'm also on TikTok, but I'm still like building that up. So check me out. Follow me.
I love it. I will put the links down in the show notes, so you can go over and click over and find Sabrina on the online space. Thank you so much. I have loved this, and I never know on these shows what's going to come through. Like soul embodiment, you know, I didn't know what that was for you or what that experience was for you. Like with these names, it just shows as well, like it doesn't matter what we name things. And this has been beautiful. This has made my evening. I love this conversation. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. This was refreshing to talk to a fellow soul sister and just nerd out about this stuff, because I love it.
I love it. So take care, everybody, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and share this episode, and go and find the beautiful Sabrina. So thanks, everybody. Take care. Bye.